I want to talk about how you can change your life in under a year. And you might be thinking, is that even possible? Okay, change my life, it means this whole massive 180. Making this your breakout year, I don't think is a lack of cold plunges, getting up at 5 a.m., writing SMART goals. All that can help and work for you. I think it's more so commitments. When I was really thinking about this video and what I wanted to share here, 3 commitments that you make to yourself, it'll make change easier, happen faster. It'll give you that decision. The very first commitment you need to make, get clear. In college, I was more interested in entrepreneurship than what I was learning in class. And I said that I wanted to build my own business after I graduate. In between classes, I would film YouTube videos, and podcasts were just starting around this time, like 2010. And I was really into health and fitness. And so I got the great idea to launch my podcast, Dude, Where's My Health?
Yo, what up, dudes? Dudettes. We got the iTunes podcast, Dude, Where's My Health? I am so incredibly...
I think I scrubbed it from the internet. So I'm 21 years old, hungover in my dorm room in my boxers, interviewing this guy, gluten from that beer I drank, what's it doing to me, dude? At this time, I had no clue how this podcast or where it was gonna go at all, but I just did something. I didn't want to stay stuck. I wanted to take action. I read this in Think and Grow Rich. It was take out a index card, like a 3x5 note card, and write your goal and put it above your bed or somewhere where you can see it 2 times a day. I wrote down a crazy goal that by this time next year, I want to make $10,000 of self-generated income off my podcast. And so I'm like, okay, I want to make $10,000 of self-generated income by this time next year. And I took it and I put it above my bunk bed that I had flipped upside down so it was like a coffin, and I would read it 2 times a day, morning and night. Now back to the podcasting. So I was interviewing these health experts, and one of them, I guess my enthusiasm caught the attention of him. He's like, hey man, I know someone who's looking for a radio host for their blog, and they want to do this podcast thing. Would you be interested? And I went from being a kid in my dorm room, emailing guests to interview them, to having an agent who would reach out. And I was interviewing New York Times bestselling authors. I was interviewing people like Mark Sisson with Primal Kitchen, and Dave Asprey and Wim Hof and David Perlmutter, really official guests. Things just started happening. The momentum was picking up. And long story short, I added up the invoices on December of that year, and I had made over $10,631 from that show. And the reason I tell you that story is because once I got clear on the target I wanted, things just started happening. It's impossible for you to change this year if you remain unclear. So the first exercise I want to give you, all right, is take out a 3x5 note card and write your one goal that in 12 months time, if it came true, you would be like, holy cow, I cannot believe that happened. For me, this was $10,000 of podcast revenue. So for you, this could be, you want to lose weight, great, how much? You want to get in a relationship, great, what do they look like? How is your relationship? You want to start a business, great, what kind of business? How does it start? And just make it one goal, but as clear as you can get it. And then what you do is you put this where you can read it 2 times a day, in the morning and at night. So you can put it on your bathroom mirror, you're brushing your teeth, you're looking at this thing. You can put this by your bed, right there, you're reading this thing. We're not going after 5 things, we're going after 1 thing. So instead of spreading yourself thin in 5 different sporadic uses of your energy, you're concentrating that like a magnifying glass. You're putting all the energy into this one thing. And I promise you this year, you're gonna get way more done than the other 3 years where you've been trying to go after this. This is what CEOs do when they take over a company. What is the first thing they do? Do you know? It's give me the numbers. Give me the data on everything. I don't want your opinion on what's happening. I wanna see what's happening with my own eyes. When you work with a personal trainer, the first thing they do, they track everything. How many calories, everything that goes in your mouth, I wanna see. Why do we do that in other areas when we're trying to make a change? Because we want the data, we wanna get honest. We don't want to go with what we think is happening or what the story we're telling is. We want to focus on what is objectively true. And so if you want to change your life this year, this step, this commitment is to get honest. Ditching the stories and looking objectively at why we haven't achieved this yet. I thought of a funny story on this to really illustrate this to you. As a kid, I was really into music and I was super into like My Chemical Romance. I was this emo kid and I'd go in my room after school every day and I'd shut the door and I would just sing really loud. Headphones in, just singing. It's the worst thing I could say. You know, I'd get really thirsty, so I'd come out and get some water. My mom's like, wow, Clark, you're doing really good. That's best effort. Yeah, I know, I got some pipes. Well then, one day, I got GarageBand. Great, I can record this masterpiece I've been working on. And I hit record and I'm belting it. I go to listen and I am terrified. It sounds like if you were hunting and when you ring a duck and it's mixed with someone who's tone deaf trying to sing. I think I became a drummer the next day. Now, why am I telling you this story? Because there's a difference between what's objectively true and what we think is true. I thought I was crushing it. I thought that when my mom said best effort, she meant objectively, you're a good singer. And then you record yourself and you're like, wow, I suck. That's the truth. But it's so hard to see. And we want to like tell ourselves, no, it's this, when really it's this. And if you want to change your life this year, you have to be like, I suck at singing, and that is okay because now we can actually improve. But if we're telling ourselves a story about it or trying to see it differently or like lying to ourselves, we're never gonna make it, and it's gonna be another 12 months of the same thing, I promise. All change starts with honesty. This is not negative. Everything you want in your life, if you want to change it, you have to get honest and see it for as it is, not better than it is or not worse than it is. That can also be a form of delusion, is everything sucks in my life and I'm never going to achieve this and I'm worse than other people, and people can wallow in this sort of wound worshiping that we can do to where now our traumas or our past become our whole identity, and our whole life is because of this story that we're carrying around. And now you can overdo it and overcorrect with shadow work and letting go and beliefs and retreat after retreat. And what if that wasn't true is the point here, okay? What if we wipe the slate clean? Like, what is the real reason that I can't achieve blank up until this point? Okay, that note card that you wrote, what's the real reason? What's really holding you back here? And asking yourself, is that true? And here's the follow-up to that. Do I want it to be true? So step one is to get clear on what you want. But step two with getting honest is I want you to make a T-chart. On one side, you're gonna write everything you know you should do to achieve that goal that you wrote down. And on the other side, you're gonna write my excuse or reason for not doing it. Maybe there's no excuse, and that's great. But if there's any reason, I want you to write it down. And then the last part is I want you to look at that list and say, is this really true? Objectively, can I know for certain that this is true? Has there been other people who thought this and still achieved what I'm trying to do? And another one that's amazing, how would I operate if this wasn't really true? So you've gotten clear, you've gotten honest, there's one more commitment to make, and this is the most important one. This is to get moving. I mentioned, there was times where I set goals and I was so frustrated because I'm like, I set this goal last year. Well, the other part of the story is I made a drastic move. I was like, this business is the most important thing that I could write on my note card. I got honest with the reasons I thought I couldn't do it. And then I got moving. And literally here, I said, you know what, I'm gonna do something big. I'm gonna move from Seattle, this environment that I felt was holding me back, and I'm gonna buy a one-way ticket and go to Scottsdale, Arizona, and just try for 6 to 12 months. And I'm not gonna actually come back to Seattle until my business is doing 7 figures. I'm so frustrated, I'm just gonna make it happen. And within 12, that's probably 18 months of doing that, the business was making over 7 figures. The YouTube channel was exploding. But for you, more practically, get moving is, what do you know you should be doing, but you aren't? And I don't think, like for me, guys, when I grew my business and moved here, you know, it totally broke through the plateau. I didn't do anything that was drastically different that I didn't know how to do. It wasn't anything new that I had to go out and seek, and it unlocked everything for me. It was just applying this dormant knowledge that had been laying dormant and tapping into that and doing it to the best of my ability. So for you, like, I don't think this 180 version of you or changing your life this year is going to necessarily mean you have to learn anything new. I think it just is tapping into what you already know and using it 100%. You can't achieve this without dedicating time to it. So practically here, I would get up, make a commitment, and for 2 hours every day, you're gonna dedicate 2 hours to your most important thing that you wrote down. And over the course of a year, that's over 600 hours that you're gonna have to this thing. If you said getting in shape was the most important thing, and you're 100% on that, you think if you do 2 hours a day, you know, that's enough time to see some progress. Of course. You say building a business, 2 hours a day. You know, it's not 6 or 7 or 8, but if those 2 hours are focused, of course. Getting in a relationship, okay, maybe this is doing the inner work. Why did my last relationship fail? What's really holding me back from feeling like I can connect with people? Maybe you go to see a therapist. Maybe you're journaling. Maybe you're cleaning up yourself and making yourself the most presentable, best version of yourself, because 10s attract 10s. You focus 2 hours on that every single morning. So see, like, whatever your goal is, those 2 hours, you can do so much over the course of a year. Because if you do these 3 commitments, you get clear, you write down what you want, you get honest. Why haven't I done it in the past? Do I want that to be true? What's really holding me back? And hopefully you realize there's nothing. And then you get moving 2 hours a day on this one thing. I promise you, come back to this video next year or when things start happening and type your results. And I just want to see a thread of like, I did this and here's what happened. That'd be really cool. You want to get on our email list and get the 11 questions that will help you. I'll link down below. Subscribers get this for free. It's 11 of my favorite journaling questions that changed my life, and I know they'll change yours. Thanks so much for being here. Love you. See you in the next one. Stop settling, start living. Peace.